Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm your host for the day, Ryan Woods, and I'm here with Brandon Rabar, Daily Thunder beat writer. How are you, my man?
Doing well. Thunder are doing even better though. Hot right now.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They've only lost one game since the All-Star break. It was to the Pistons with zero starters playing. Got another quality win tonight. We're recording after the Knicks game. Thunder win by 3 after the Knicks get two, not just one, but two really good looks from three to try and force overtime. Both miss, and the Thunder win a wild, kind of ugly, uh, disjointed at times, but gritty win uh, at Madison Square. I kind of just want to throw it to you. Where do you want to start with this game? There's a lot of things to get to and a lot of things to talk about, but where do you want to start?
I want to start with Chet. Chet came out just absolutely on fire. He hit I believe his first four threes, if I'm remembering right. He had 6 threes in the first half, which tied a career high for made threes for Chet. So of course he's going to break that in the second half, right? He ends up stuck at six, but he was fantastic tonight. I think that his scoring, especially early on, is what really carried the Thunder early. Shai kind of sustained it, got a little bit of contributions for everybody else, but Chet with 28 points, 10 of 19 shooting, 6 of 11 from three, 8 rebounds, no blocks in the box score, but his typical elite rim protection because he altered so many shots, even if he didn't get counted for swats there.
Yeah, I did think I totally agree. The scoring early was much needed, and a lot of it was just in good process of Shea, drawing so much attention on defense and finding the outlets, and the ball continued to find Chet. I love, like, we've talked about it before, but just a huge difference when he's getting those shots up and when the offense is finding open threes for Chet, especially when they're in double big. It's a big deal for the offense and big deal for Shea and anybody going to the basket when Chet's being an aggressive threat from three. It's a real game changer for this team.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Chet was even bigger tonight because Hartenstein only played 17 minutes against his former team. He ended up leaving. Hopefully, he's going to be fine. But, Hartenstein, he didn't even take a shot tonight. He got 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 17 minutes. So they needed Chet tonight, and he stepped up in a big way. Of course, Jay Will played more minutes. He's been really, really good lately. I'm with you though. Shea drew so much attention. The Knicks' entire defensive plan tonight was to trap Shea, double Shea, throw everybody, the kitchen sink, anything they could find at Shea to try to slow him down. And he kept making the right read over and over again. I feel bad for Shea that he only ended up with 8 assists because it felt like it should have been about 28 assists with all the right reads and open looks he created for teammates. But he was great tonight too. Super efficient. They didn't let him get off too many shots. He had 26 on 9 of 16 shooting. 1-1 from three. It was the biggest shot of the night. His only 3-point attempt came with just over a minute left. Gave the Thunder a 103-96 lead. Ended up being the difference in the game because they win 103-100. But I thought Shea was brilliant, even if he scored 6 less points than his typical average.
Yeah, and it's a rare game. We haven't seen many where he doesn't lead the team in field goal attempts. Chet actually led the team with 19 shots tonight, and that's just something we don't see a lot of. Chet got 11 threes up tonight. That is of the wins tonight, I think the staff are going to circle the 11 threes he got tonight. Most of them were just incredible. He had a chance. One of his misses was a shot up by 8 late in the fourth. Could have pushed it to 11. I think there was about 2.5 left. It was in crunch time, but I just a big win for the overall process of ball movement. Given, like you said, how they were guarding Shai to get Chet 11. Sometimes we see these games turn into, Dort took 8, but sometimes it turns into Dort taking double digit threes because the defense is trying to force the ball to him. To get 11 looks up for Chet was really, really good. And like you said, like Shai was seeing a lot of bodies, and you mentioned the 8 assists. There were some, I don't know, we don't really track hockey assists in this sport, but a lot of those early, him getting off the ball early leads to so much good stuff on the other side when the Thunder are playing 4-on-3, and that's only going to improve when you get another guy like AJ or J-Dub out there with him to play, to be the driver in a 4-on-3 context. And even Hardenstein is so good in those contexts as well. He was great in the Denver game and the Dallas game, doing that exact thing. So yeah, props to Shai for just reading it well tonight. He had a couple low moments, just process wise, turning it over, driving into more defenders than he needed to. But for the most part, just a really solid night from Shai, scoring and just reading what was being given to him and making good plays out of it.
Yeah, Shea and Chet combined for 54 points. So, and the Thunder scored 103 points. So, everybody else combined for 49 points. It was a strange night where only 3 players were in double digits. We've become so accustomed with this Thunder team to expect 5, 6, 7 guys to end up in double digits. Tonight, it was only Chet, Shea, and Dort. Dort had 16, 4 and 9 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. I know Dort had a couple of rough possessions there late, and it got a little dicey because he had a couple turnovers there at the end when he was handling the ball. But overall, Dort played great defense. He did have, those 16 points on, it's good efficiency, shot well. And he was a game high plus 15. So despite Dort's, couple late game turnovers, I thought Dort played really well too. So it was just weird to see so many points from just 3 guys. It was a strange game for the Thunder. Everybody else, 3 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, 6 points, 4 points. We just don't usually see that with the Thunder. It's usually, spread out. So just kind of a strange game from that standpoint. But the Thunder also only scored 103 tonight. I think the Knicks played pretty good defense. The fact that they were doubling and trapping Shai and making other players try to beat them obviously worked in. I would say it didn't work overall because I do think that Shai's process and the team's process was right. And honestly, if the other guys would have just shot to their normal abilities, like Isaiah Joe was 0 for 4, Jared McCain was 1 from 5. Those were good looks. Casey Wallace was 0 for 3. All those were good looks. So honestly, I think the Thunder could have shot better. And this could have been, maybe a bit easier of a win. And it did look like an easy win for a long time. The Thunder were up double digits for a lot of this game. It was basically the third quarter that made this one much, much closer than anticipated when the Knicks just could not miss in the third quarter. They outscored the Thunder 40-27.
To your point, every single time McCain caught it for a 3, I was like, perfect. Like, these are the looks they want. This is the shooter they want taking them. He went 1 of 5 tonight, and every single look. Same with Isaiah Joe, 0 for 4. Those two going 1 for 9 in a game that you win, pretty impressive in that regard. But like you're saying, that's not how those two have been shooting the ball recently. And I was, they were probably a little bit due for a stinker, but to have them on the same night from 3 and still come out with a win is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. I do want to ask you about. I think I want to ask you about the discourse. Can we talk about the discourse online?
I'm guessing this involves Mike Brown and ref calls.
We can certainly start there. The Mike Brown post game quote. I think it was initially framed like in the tweet going around. was kind of framed as like a that Mike Brown was being complimentary, and you can certainly read it that way. I think it's being more taken as like a passive aggressive comment about Shai and his ability to um, sell contact. I It's just really interesting after these games. Some of these games, I can't remember a game where the opposing coach, the last time an opposing coach hasn't made, or a player hasn't made a similar comment about the team in general, or maybe about Shai. Of course, we had the Lou Dort situation with Denver uh, last week. Not even really referring to that, but just more of the same. I would say taking the Chris Finch route after a game of just talking about the whistle on a night where Shai took 6 shooting foul free throws and 1 technical free throw courtesy of Mike Brown, and there were no challenges from the Knicks. Like, and I honestly, I thought there were a couple times where I was kind of surprised he didn't. But he goes home with a comment about Shai and his challenge.
Yeah, so there's a few different things I think are, interesting about this. The challenge thing is the funniest thing to me. Like, okay, so if you're implying that there were some free throws that you did not think were legit, how are you going home with all your challenges? Mark Daignault used both of his challenges. Both of them were successful. He probably could have used a couple more and won a couple more there at the end had he been able to. I just don't understand how, on one hand, you're going to imply that he's getting some free throws that he shouldn't have got, and yet you didn't challenge those. You must not have felt that strongly about it. The other thing is, like you said, he and Jalen Brunson took the same amount of shooting free throws, 6. Shai got 1 extra because of that technical foul. By the way, Shai has not shot in double-digit free throws against the Knicks since 2022 over the last 3 seasons. Shai is averaging 7 free throws per game against the Knicks. The Knicks doubled him, trapped him, threw everything at him all game long, and they just couldn't stop him. Despite all that, scored 26 points very efficiently. I just don't know how that is the takeaway. On a night where you were obviously doing everything you could to stop this dude, and he still burned you, and he shot the same amount of shooting foul free throws as your guy, I don't get it. I don't, I just don't understand why we can't just tip the hat, say good job. I don't know why it's always got to turn into this free throw discourse. I
And it
think
just
it's
seems
just
like
not.
it seems like the wrong guy too. Like I I mentioned to in our thread earlier, like I thought it was, and I even tweeted it. Like I thought that was one of, if not the best whistles of the year for the Thunder, but it had nothing to do with Shea. Um,
Right,
I
right,
thought
yeah,
he
that's
was.
and
I
yeah,
I thought they were very physical with him, and they should be. Like they played him very well, and I thought Shea handled it. Like I thought there were a lot of possessions where the Knicks, they'll walk away from a few of those possessions feeling like they really had an effect. They really did well. They accomplished their goal on several of those possessions with Shea as the on the ball. There were a few that, of course, uh, Shea got his, but like I thought for the most part they defended Shea really well. I never felt like he was in rhythm all night. And credit to Shea for coming away with the impact he had on the game, given that it didn't seem like the things are coming easily to Shea. They were physical with him, and they should have been, and it worked for good stretches of the game. Had more of an impact on just the overall offense for the Thunder, not necessarily Shea himself. But like I thought the Thunder whistle was pretty good tonight, and yet the 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 game, as soon as the game ends, they immediately start talking about Shea's whistle, and it's like I think they had a leg to stand on, that like to talk about the team at large, and he just like swung and missed talking about 6 free throws from Shea. I thought that was strange. I don't know how you walk away from that game thinking that it was Shea, it was his whistle that 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 swung that game or had a big impact on that game. I thought if anything, Shea probably got a worse whistle than the rest of the team. I thought the Thunder were allowed to be very physical tonight. I thought both teams were, but I thought the Thunder were allowed to be very physical tonight. I think the biggest gripe would be, if I were a Knick fan, would be the third, potentially third foul on Shea that wasn't called, the potential offensive foul where Brunson uh, stepped in front of Shea where he was catching a pass. Um, I thought the Thunder really dodged one with that one, that was the play that came with the Mike Brown technical. But um, other than that, I really didn't think that Shea was like egregious with anything he was doing.
Yeah, that one they could have had an argument there for sure. Although it's funny because it was just like that Jokic versus J Will charge block no call. It was very similar, and Thunder fans probably felt like the Nuggets got away with one there because there was a no call with that much contact. You feel like it's got to be called one way or the other. I'm not sure because I couldn't see a replay. I was trying to find a replay that showed a better angle. Like, was Brunson set? Did he get position? I'm not sure. It looked like it definitely could have been a third foul on SGA. I'm just not sure. But yeah, if anything, that's one play in the first quarter. The Thunder end up getting up by 15 points, and then you guys come back and take a lead. So, like, the one gripe that they probably could have against Shea as far as foul calls was just a non-call when he was on offense that happened in the first quarter. Now, obviously, that would have been his third foul, and that could have been a difference maker. Obviously, it wouldn't have been a difference maker, ultimately because he didn't get close to fouling out. So yeah, I guess I would give them that one, but it's just such kind of a non-issue to me that I just don't understand. I did not expect. I apologize for my dog, by the way.
Oh, shut! Why throw his name? Let's credit
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
credit him for
yeah.
his appearance.
Max making a guest appearance on the show tonight. I took him
Uh,
out before this podcast started, as Ryan and Craig can attest to, and I thought he was good to go. Maybe he just had a bigger helping of water earlier tonight than I knew. Um,
I think he's trying to get some takes off back there. I think he's living with the discourse online as well. Out of
Maybe
baby Max.
he hears us talking about the Thunder. He knows that they bark like he likes to want to be one of the dogs.
That's
And
right. That's
it is
right.
it is getting louder too. Yeah, I don't even know what we were talking about.
Well,
I know what we were saying. I'm gonna try to get this in before Max takes over here. Before he just comes over and takes my mic and starts barking into it. Uh, After this game, I thought this was a great, entertaining, thrilling game in Madison Square Garden between two of the best teams in the NBA, two of the best players in the NBA, stars everywhere. There's celebrities in the stands. It's on national TV. There's so much hype. A possible NBA Finals preview. It came down to the wire. I thought it was a great, entertaining game. The Knicks had two chances to tie it up there at the end. We could have gone to overtime. I truly thought, naively, like this is obviously very naive, I thought the big takeaway was going to be like, wow, great battle between two great teams, good Thunder win, but man, the Knicks are legit. I thought that was going to be the takeaway. I go away for a little while, watch some Netflix, come back and see all the discourse. I'm like, what? Why are we talking about free throws tonight? Where did this even come from? I was blown away.
yeah, I was just looking at it earlier. The Thunder took 25 free throws. The Knicks took 22. One was a technical free throw. So if you take away the Mike Brown tech, it's 24-22. I mean, we're not talking about a big difference here. I thought both teams were allowed to be as physical as they can be. And I mean, there were some hard fouls. Like J. Will caught Shamit up high. Towns caught Dort more than once up high. Like it just was what it was. And like the next time the Thunder win a game and the immediate, you know, reflex take is that the whistle that they get, it feels like will be the first in a while. But anyway, it's just an interesting reality the Thunder live in right now. Is this is this just constant conversation about the calls or non-calls, depending on the situation. The Hardenstein injury is, you know, Caruso left the game with a hip contusion, kind of got hit while he was in the air, and immediately went down. You could tell he was in some pain. That's going to be an interesting one to monitor. A real bummer given the games that the Thunder have coming up. We'll see how, you know, if he misses time, how much time he misses. We'll see on that. The Thunder do get tomorrow and Friday off before they play a primetime game against the Warriors at home. So we'll see on him. Hardenstein, I think, is probably the bigger story just because it's the calf again. Can you confirm it's the same calf he's been dealing with?
It is not the same calf he's been dealing with, and not to me that's more encouraging that it's not the same calf. To me, that's a good thing. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're dealing with two calf
Sure.
injuries now. But to me, it's better that it's not a re-injury of the one that he's been dealing with. So
And did you see it happen during the game? I never saw anything where he was like visibly, you know, hobbled by it. It just seemed like he got checked. You know, he came out of the game and then just never returned. And they listed it with left calf tightness, is what the alert was.
yeah, I never saw it happen. I was surprised. Like I was like, why isn't Hartenstein come back in? He's on the bench. I just thought it was like for a while. I thought it was just like an extended rest. I was like, wait, maybe
Yeah.
this is a matchup thing. I was like, oh no, he's not coming in because he must have tweaked something or hurt something. Um, I feel like it's got to be a conservative, cautious thing though. Just the fact that the Thunder are going to be extremely careful with all these injuries. He was on the bench. He seemed to be in good spirits. So hopefully he and Caruso, it's like one step forward, two steps back with these injuries, unfortunately. Like you feel
Hmm.
like Dub and AJ Mitchell are getting very, very close to coming back. And then, Caruso had just come back, Hartenstein just come back, and then, a couple injuries tonight. But hopefully at some point soon, we're going to see this team at full strength and be able to get some chemistry and rhythm going all together as a full healthy unit before the playoffs.
Yeah, no question. And just from the reporting today, credit to Tim McMahon on the Hoop Collective and ESPN. He he gave an update today that AJ is very close, and even mentioned he wouldn't be surprised to see him playing this weekend. So that's encouraging. He also mentioned that it's been more of the ankle, and I think you've mentioned this as well. Just he's what's kept him out more recently is more the ankle sprain that he suffered while rehabbing the abductor strain or the abdominal injury, more so than the abdominal injury itself. So that is, to me, encouraging that it's more just waiting on the ankle to get right again, and not that the original injury is lingering longer than they.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a good thing. Obviously, it's a bummer again that it's a different second injury and this one to a different body part, an ankle. But I think it is a good thing that means that the adductor strain, it was close. He was ramping up. He was close to coming back because that's the bigger deal. And so, this ankle injury, I do think he's very close. So it is going to be great for this offense to get AJ Mitchell back. And I am very excited to see some bench play between AJ, Isaiah Joe, and Jared McCain. That's going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt about it. Like he he is going to he's going to do a lot for those guys, and those guys are going to do a lot for him. He is such an effective downhill attacker and creator, and having both of those guys out there at the same time you think about the potential of those three with Hartenstein, um, as a screener, as kind of a hub. Those those four especially, I feel like, are going to be really effective together. We've already seen what Hardenstein can can do for those two shooters, but having another ball handler and hand up, I just think AJ's a better shooter than his current 3-point percentage would say. I'm just really excited about seeing those guys out there together. I want to mention before we get out of here, I do want to mention just how impressive J Will has been for a good while now. This isn't a 1 or 2 or 3 game sample. This has been a good long stretch of really effective, very much needed play from Jalen.
Yeah, this J Will play lately has been big as the Thunder have been dealing with these injuries to Hartenstein and just having bodies. The fact that he can come out and can score 15 points, 17 points, get you 16 rebounds, 6 assists. His shooting, we've seen it from Jay Will. We know that he can shoot. He wasn't supposed to be a shooter coming out of college, coming out of Arkansas. Mark Dagnall has even said so. Like, they did not know he could shoot, and then he just came in and started shooting in practice. So we've seen it, and he started off the season not shooting it well, but man, he's been shooting it well lately. His all-around game, I think, like the development of Jay Will is up there, not quite to the level of the development of Lou Dort when he came into the league, but he is absolutely one of the big success stories of the Oklahoma City development program.
No question. And I mean, he's how about the behind the back passes he's flashed a couple of them in the last week.
Yeah, that's he's getting fancier. He's getting saucier.
He really is. He
He
really
really
is.
is like and he's fun. Like he comes out like J Dub. Obviously, the Thunder have missed, by the way, like the energy that J Dub brings to the team, especially at home games. The way that he will hype up a home crowd. But that said, J Will does bring like a certain amount of energy and a certain amount of like sauce to when he's playing. Like I don't know, like the hype that he brings. I think hypes up the team and the crowd as well. So yeah, it's fun to see him having fun out there. Especially, I think so many people believe that Jay Will was just like a vibes guy, locker room guy, culture guy. But he's also become a good player. Like he's not just a vibes guy. Like he can help you win, and we've seen it, especially over an 82 game season, especially in certain matchups like against Jokic, where you need big bodies. Jay Will can play. He'll help your locker room, but he'll help you on the court too.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think even just in since the Denver game, I think a lot of people outside the Thunder sphere have started to take note of that exact thing. Like he's turned himself into a really solid player, a player that would play a lot more minutes for a lot more teams if he were on them. And stoked for him. We have had a lot of interactions with him over the since he's been on the team. He's a vibes guy for a reason. That guy is like salt of the earth, nicest, most generous guy, super kind and fun to talk to. But he's really, really become a fantastic player on the floor, and they're going to need him. Like you mentioned, he's been very effective in the Jokic matchup. He provides something. He provides some physicality to that matchup, while also, like Hartenstein, also provides a lot of physicality in guarding Jokic. But Jay Will provides space on the other end as well, where Jokic is forced to make decisions a little, more decisions and different decisions when Jay Will's out there and he can space to the 3-point line. Just a real weapon, and there's just not a lot of bench bigs who have that many skills. because most of them aren't bench bigs, most of them start. He's just been phenomenal on both ends. In a spot in the season with the injuries that I don't even think he's 100%, Brandon, and he's been really really effective and really reliable.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that would love to have Jay Will, especially on the contract that Jay Will is on. And the fact that, you can weather these storms of Hartenstein missing games or Chet missing games, and you'll be all right because you can rely on Jay Will to play 20, 30 minutes. And, he can provide you scoring, shooting, spacing, rebounding, and some playmaking. He is extremely diversified as far as his skill set goes, and he's really turned himself into a valuable role player. The bench for the Thunder is just, I wrote this in my wrap up of the game last night against the Bulls. Like, just try to rank the top 5 players off the bench. I think I could seriously. We could go through your list, my list. Cray is producing tonight. His list. We might have the same 5 players, probably not, but we'd absolutely all have them in different orders. Because I think you could say Alex Caruso is the best bench player. You could say Casey Wallace is. You can make an argument, I think, for Isaiah Joe. You could absolutely make an argument for a healthy AJ Mitchell. So I don't even know who the best bench player is, like who the first one of that ranking is. And Jay Will, the fact that he's like the 9th, 10th, 11th guy in the Thunder's rotation is just an absolute embarrassment of riches.
It really is. We were in our last conversation on here. We talked. I had you. I wanted to hear your top 7, and we talked about the guys that just barely missed out on being named. We didn't even mention Jay Will. Even in the honorable mentions, it's just an insane group of guys. But he's proven himself to be really important, and he plays to his size, and gives Shai a real release valve at the 3-point line, while being an effective screen setter. I've just been really impressed. Okay, last thing I wanted to hit on with you. Last year, I want to take you back to the conference final round. The Thunder are cruising past the Timberwolves, and our focus was heavily on that Eastern Conference final between Indiana and New York. And I remember talking with you and others about who would you rather see. And we talked about the Knicks and just how we're probably well suited to defend New York, maybe more than we are Indiana, just with how almost random and chaotic and fast Indiana was playing and how well they were shooting it, that New York's style of playing through Brunson, a smaller guard, that the Thunder just had more bodies to throw in that situation and would have more success. I think we were dead right about that. After watching Kaysen tonight just throw heat after heat after heat at Jalen Brunson. There are very few guards who can do to Brunson what Kaysen did tonight, and I don't even know if they had chosen to put Dort on him tonight and Kaysen on Bridges or Anunoby or however. I don't know that Dort wouldn't have done better. He may not have, but I just love, if this were the finals matchup, if you're the Thunder, you have to feel so good about how you match up with this team.
Yeah, they did this tonight, and the other guys besides Chet and Lou Dort didn't shoot well from 3. They didn't have J-Dub. They didn't have AJ Mitchell. Caruso and Hartenstein both got hurt and left the game early. Those are 4 of your best 6 players. And like you said, you have Casey Wallace or Lou Dort you can put on Jalen Brunson, their best player. You can take advantage of the fact that two of their best players, Brunson and Cat, aren't the greatest defenders. In a playoff series, you can find ways to take advantage of that when you can get two guys on the court at the same time who aren't good defenders. And to your point, Casey Wallace, he only scored 4 points tonight. But don't let that fool you. His stats are the Jalen Brunson stats. The fact that Jalen Brunson scored 16 points on 5 of 18 shooting. Those are Case and Wallace's stats tonight. And oh, by the way, he also had another 4-steal game. So, yeah, I think if you're the Thunder, we've said this all along that the Western Conference Finals would feel like the real NBA Finals. And maybe even the Western Conference semifinals, depending on, who you're matching up with, could feel like, a bit more of the NBA Finals. No disrespect to the Knicks, obviously a very good team, and so are the Pistons, and so are the Cavs. I'm kind of leaning towards the Cavs at this moment. The Celtics, if they get Jason Tatum back, but to me, the three best teams in the league still are out west, and that's going to be a brutal road. And I think whoever gets to the NBA Finals out of the West, whether it's the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Spurs, or whoever, it's going to feel a little bit easier, of a matchup than what they saw in the West. That said, everybody thought the same thing about the Pacers last year. We all know how that turned out. So
They were so good. They were so good. Max agrees. Do you think where would you take Minnesota in the finals over any East team?
ooh, I think that would be a pretty good straight, like Minnesota Knicks, Minnesota Pistons, Minnesota Cavs, and Minnesota healthier Celtics, meaning Tatum's back and is at least like 75-80% of himself. I think those are all like toss ups. I would put all them in the same tier. And look, I know the Pistons have been really good. I think there's some issues with their offense come playoff time. Um, I would put the Thunder in their own tier, then like the Nuggets and Spurs. Then I would put Wolves, Pistons, Cavs, Knicks. I don't know if I already said Knicks.
Hmm. Celtics.
And Celtics in that tier. Personally.
Hmm.
Personally.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Um, I think Minnesota's ceiling, I think we've seen, is really high. They've got a unique blend of players. Then like a Knicks Wolves series, just for the Towns Randall trade of it all, would be scenes. That would be crazy. Um,
I just have a hard time seeing the Wolves get past OKC after what I saw in the playoffs last year. The
Agreed.
Thunder just absolutely drilling them in 5 games, and they lost Nikhil Alexander Walker, one of their best role players. I just have a hard time seeing it. Now maybe if matchups work out differently, where they don't have to play the Thunder, they could absolutely beat the Knicks. I mean, I'm sorry, the Nuggets. And could they get past the Spurs? Possibly, depending on matchups. And then maybe the Thunder face somebody else. And so in that scenario, like maybe the Wolves could get to the finals. I just have a very hard time believing after what we saw last year that they're going to get past the Thunder.
Yeah, like if the Thunder are healthy and your team only has like one real ball handler, it's you don't have a shot. Um, I think that was the biggest thing that I think that was the biggest thing to me. The thing I've heard the most from league wide post finals and post playoff run for the Thunder is just like we probably don't have enough guys who can dribble versus that team and versus that scheme. And I think Minnesota, I think that was the biggest. I think they were the biggest culprit. Just they were just multiple ball handlers short, um, and that's kind of why I was leaning to wanting to see the Knicks in the finals because they're so driven by Brunson on the ball, and they traded for Alvarado at the deadline, and I don't. He's been good for them, but he's also not on the level of a guy that I think would sway that too much. So um, anyway, that's a that's an interesting conversation. Is how many West teams would we take over the East teams? Because I Cleveland to me is strong. They're stronger after the deadline, but it they're also dealing with a broken thumb for Harden, and they've had some really bad flameouts in the last couple years after great showings in the regular season. So um, it's obviously going to be very interesting. But all right, anything else you want to get out before we dip out of here on the after a Knicks win in the Garden?
There's nothing that I want to get out, but I do think that there's something that Max wants to get out right now.
Oh, please,
So,
please.
so I should probably wrap it up. Little toilet humor to end the show for you, bud.
the floor the floor is yours, Max. This imaginary floor, and as well as all of the floors in Brandon's house, they're all yours. So have at it. Have at it, of course. He'll love that. He'll love that. Mainly middle of the night, just have at it, especially when no one's looking. Just have at it. They'll love it. All right. We are out of here. That's gonna do it. The Thunder win. They get to 49-15. And they will play again on Saturday night, going for win number 50 against the Warriors. Real quick, Shai extended the streak. He's getting closer to breaking a 60-year-old record that no one has come close to. And honestly, Brandon, I don't know if he breaks this record, it may be one of those that doesn't get touched for a long, long time. I'm sure at some point in the past, someone looked at that record from Wilt and said, "This one's untouchable. No one's doing this again." And we're just now three. I believe he needs three to break it, two to tie.
Yep, three to
Um,
break it, two to tie. Yeah, it's crazy because all the best scorers in this league, you'll look and it's crazy. 20 is a pretty high threshold. So to consistently get that is a really, really tough thing to do. Like you'll look like, okay, well, surely Luca or Anthony Edwards or Jokic, fill in the blank. And, these guys will go on streaks of like 8 games in a row over 20 or 12 games in a row over 20, and they'll break it. So 126, 127 is just absolutely off the chart.
it's absurd. I couldn't believe Durant's number wasn't higher too. How is that guy not scoring 20 every game? Uh, Especially early on. It seemed like it was nonstop, but pretty insane stuff from Shai. Um, and we'll see if this thing keeps going. They play the Warriors on Saturday night, and we will be back next week to cover that game and what is likely to be an absolute cage match against the Nuggets on Monday. So we will be back to talk about it all here on the Daily Thunder podcast.